Maturing Christians stop pointing out everybody else's sin and start confessing their own.
Uh,
we want to get the rocking chair and roll over our toes real fast.
uh, I'm just gonna hide out for a minute.
So I mean, maturing Christians, one of the things um, that we will learn as we mature in Christ is we stop caring about what everybody else is doing. Why do we care so much, Seth, that so and so fell off the bandwagon today? They said some stuff they shouldn't have said. Now, I'm saying this as a very superficial level, right? Because as brothers in Christ, if we see our brother fall, we are to go and pick them up and rebuild them in the faith. But what I'm talking about is don't worry about what everybody else is sinning. Make sure you're not sinning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you're confessing every daily to the Lord. Lord, forgive me, I fail you daily. That way you keep your relationship right with Christ. Because you can't go help anybody with it if you're not right.
Yeah. And sometimes, we want to nitpick other people for their flaws, but, we're seeing what they're missing. But in all actuality, we're living much worse and have fallen off much harder than they have. And it's a tough pill to swallow because, judge not that you not be judged.
Right.
That we all talk about that, and that's a big thing. But, there is a certain bit of accountability there. We have to have accountability in, if we see somebody falling off, there's a difference in judgment, condemnation, and restoration. Is that what am I too far ahead of the horse here?
No, I mean, it goes right along with it though, right?
Yeah.
So elaborate on a little more, Seth. You mentioned the word restoration, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes a long way. So have you ever had an instance in your life where you've had to work with a brother in Christ to either restore them or at least get closure, that you've done everything that you could do?
Dude, okay, so can I be vulnerable here for a second?
Be vulnerable.
So like I have tried to work toward restoration with some people. There's one person in my life that was real big. He was a pastor, but there was conflict there, and I've tried to work toward restoration, but there was just too much opposition. I did everything I could to try to love, to try to walk in peace, but there has been no restoration. There's been no pursuit of restoration. It's a one-sided walk. For restoration to happen, it takes multiple parties, both partaking in accountability for actions, for how we live, for what we say, what we do. Accountability is important. We have to admit and understand that we have done wrong along the way. If some things have gone wrong, we have to be like, whoops, Dalton, I apologize. I shouldn't have said what I said to you. I really acted childish in how I said this to you. I might have said something. I misunderstood, but I want you to forgive me. Now, you have a choice in how you receive that restoration. We're dancing all over the place now, but we're talking about being mature in faith here, and
Absolutely.
I feel it's important.
And another sign of maturing as a Christian, right? So you're talking about this restoration. Does speed matter when you're dealing with your brothers and sisters in Christ? Should you linger? Should you tarry? No offense to Terry in our comments. That's not what I'm talking about. He just happened to comment the same time I said that. But, Terry is in Tarry. Jesus would tarry, right? So Terry. So should you tarry? Should you wait to go engage that brother and sister in Christ, or should you act immediately?
It's important to, if there's a fire that is started, it's important to get it while it's hot before it spreads. Because if you give the devil a foothold, he's going to dig deeper and make the fire bigger.
Absolutely.
And if we don't base the resolution in what the Bible tells us in following this pursuit, we're going to lean into self. And leaning into self, we're looking at flaws. We're looking at big ditches and wounds that don't heal.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. How far are you willing to go to see restoration happen? Jesus was willing to take a cross for us to see our restoration. That's deep, isn't it? You know, 2 Corinthians 5:18, all this is from God, who through Christ reconciled us to himself and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. So his entire ministry was based off bringing us back to the Father and seeing us restored to where we was before the events of the Garden of Eden, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the verse establishes that God, through Jesus, initiated the process of reconciliation with humanity. We are then given the ministry of reconciliation, which is the ability to reconcile with each other, the ability to share Jesus' word and see lives changed, see mountains be moved. You know, we are called to be agents in the grace of Christ.